So we are describing this Karana Shariram, and in which I was talking about the self-confusion also. The self-confusion is due to there is understanding of a self as well as there is a misunderstanding. And that is why in such a case, and the misunderstanding is, we have taken this non-self as a self, because the non-self happens to be the self only. The non-self is basically a non-separate from the self, and we have taken it as a self, and therefore there is a misunderstanding. If there is a cognition of the self and you take the non-self into the self, it is understanding. It's a total understanding. But you don't have a cognition of the self, and in absence of that, you take the non-self as the self. That is error. That's called confusion. And that confusion has to resolve by discrimination between self and non-self. This between self, non-self, etc., segregation, discrimination is a temporary thing. Please understand that. Otherwise the self becomes very chota. If you remove everything as no, this is non-self, this is non-self, this is non-self, then the existence of the self itself cannot be established. As such like this virus, it will become like this. The self is called Brahman, and therefore whatever you are negating right now, you have to put back into your in your bag. But later, not now. Now you first separate. That's the first step. Vedanta has a two steps. First is take non-self as a non-self and self as a self. And then the understanding of self is such in which all non-self is also accommodated. And that non-self is accommodated as the self. Please understand. Non-self is accommodated as the self. Then why do you begin with, for the sake of heaven, why do you begin with this Saga means Atma Anatma Viveka? Because you don't have a cognition of a real self. That's all it is. You take yourself as just a limited being, and taking the inner thing as a conscious. Consciousness is the reality of the consciousness is the final reality. Atma Satyam Tad Anyat Sarvam Mithya. But this basically, which is untruth, has been taken as a truth. For that sake, this kind of a inquiry is there. And entire Vedanta Shastra is dealing with this kind of a Atma Anatma Viveka. And they do this by establishing that the reality difference between the two. The Atma is real, other than that everything what you see is seemingly real. That's all. Everything is everything other than this. That other than this also is American, like this, American. Other than this. Don't take all these things for granted. Other than. There is nothing other than. But take it right now. Other than. What is the self? Is just a inert thing. It is a dependent upon consciousness. Inert thing, it's a beautiful thing. Inert thing can never establish consciousness. Consciousness establishes the inert thing. Consciousness establishes the evidence of inert thing. Inert thing can never give an evidence of a conscious being. Please understand this. Inert thing cannot, to a inert thing, consciousness cannot become evident. To a consciousness, an inert thing can become evident. Could you follow? And therefore, it proves a very big thing that inert, whatever is inert, so-called inert, also is ultimately dependent upon the consciousness for their evidence, for their existence. And that is why we say Atma consciousness alone is Satyam, other than that is Mithya. Mithya means dependent on self-existent thing for their existence. Dependent on self-evident thing for their evidence. That's all it means. Anyway, and so, therefore this self-confusion is definitely there, and therefore, and self-confusion, for that definitely their self-ignorance also should be there. And so self-confusion has to go, and it can go. What goes is ultimately self-ignorance, but the cause, the ignorance goes, then this definitely confusion also goes. Confusion cannot go independently. Confusion will only go when its cause will go. And the cause is ignorance. And there is self-confusion, and therefore ignorance also is a self-ignorance. Well, this ignorance is called avidya or karana shariram in Vedanta. Now we'll go one by one what has been told about. First thing is told is this avidya is anadi, is beginningless. Adi means beginning. Adi has a many meaning. Adi also means a birth. Adi means a beginning, Adi means etc. But here we generally, Adi means a beginning. Here we take that way. So this avidya or karana shariram, the self-ignorance, is beginningless. Means what? It doesn't have a beginning. It only knows how to go. And why do we say that why do we say that it doesn't begin? Because any beginning implies its prior absence. Right? Any beginning implies its prior absence. Before that it won't be there. And if ignorance begins, then which means it was not there before. And if it was not there before, then before what was there? Then we have to tell before definitely knowledge must have been there. Because ignorance comes and removes something, then it can remove knowledge. Therefore, because they are opposite. And therefore, definitely if ignorance has a beginning, means before that it was not there. Okay, then before that, what was there? So we say knowledge was there. Then if knowledge is there, our own experience says, if knowledge is there, how can ignorance can begin? Like I have a part knowledge, a clip knowledge right now. Now this clip knowledge goes and clip ignorance begins. How it is possible? It is impossible. Like I know the clip, then I know the clip. I know the clip. I know the clip till the end of my life. Could you follow what I am saying? And so once the ignorance goes and once you know the object, well, it remains. And therefore, if ignorance begins, then prior than that it must be knowledge. And if knowledge is there, then ignorance cannot begin and pushing away the knowledge. It is not possible. Because basically both are opposite. Like if light is there, the darkness cannot come. Light is there, then darkness cannot come. Or darkness is there, well then light can come in. But then light is there, darkness cannot come. That's for sure. Otherwise, if electricity goes off, that's a different matter. But if light is there, the darkness cannot come. Same way, if knowledge was there, definitely ignorance cannot come. And if ignorance cannot come, means ignorance cannot begin in me. And therefore, ignorance is beginningless. We have to say that because the other possibilities, knowledge and ignorance can coexist. Knowledge was there from the beginning. And then ignorance also has begun. Ignorance has begun means what? Now both coexist. Well, they cannot coexist. Light and darkness cannot coexist. And therefore, ultimately, either of that should remain. But then our experience proves, once you know a thing, the knowledge remains. Maybe out of your memory, but somebody reminds you know again. It's not that you have ignorance. Swamiji, I have forgotten the thing. That's correct. You might have forgotten. But you will not say, I don't know at all this thing. You won't say. That won't be possible. Once you know means no. That's all it is. From the unknown, once it is revealed by the Chidabhasa, it becomes known. And throughout the life it remains known. It may be in your memory, it may not be in memory. But then again, the total blankness about the object cannot come. Therefore, either ignorance of an object or in general the ignorance has no beginning. And therefore, avidya, this is called beginningless. So, and but definitely if it has no beginning, still it comes to an end. That is why it is called mithya. Therefore, see the reality, the satyam and mithya has this difference. What is satyam is also beginningless, but there is no end also. And mithya is something which is beginningless, but which comes to an end. That's the difference. That's all. Which is beginningless, but it comes to an end. And therefore, basically, both are anadi, but one comes to an end. One has a antah, other is called anantah. So we always say the Atma is anadi anantah, and avidya is anadi santah or antah. So avidya always, santah means it antena saha vartate iti santah, which has an end. Whenever you know. So ignorance regarding this, since how long? I don't know. Right? You cannot say exactly, Swamiji, yesterday 8:27 p.m. the ignorance has begun regarding this object. You cannot tell me. So ignorance is beginningless. Well, but once you know, it comes to an end. That's how it is. And therefore, this avidya, which is anadi, is karana shariram. Now you can follow, right? It is, if it comes to an end, it is called shariram. What comes to an end is shariram. Why? Because I have given you the definition in Bhagavad Gita, shiryamana svabhavatvat shariram. Shiryamana svabhavatvat, which has a nature of decaying, which can go. Whenever you know, it will go, it will decay, it will get destroyed. And that is why it is called karana shariram. And also, we call sharira, we have this another thing called upadhi, we call. Sharira is a upadhi. Upadhi means an adjunct because of which the limitless self is taken as a very limited self. When you say I am ignorant, well, definitely it indicates you are limited in terms of knowledge. And therefore, basically, this ignorance also is a upadhi. It's an adjunct which what it does, one's own, its own attributes superimpose upon the Atma, like a crystal. I have given you example. Something which is nearby crystal, it superimposes its own dharma upon the crystal. And so you will feel the color is, the crystal, it becomes a colorless, with a color, pink or something. So basically an individual also, this person is now, I am not a person as such. I am limitless Brahman, but I am looking upon myself as a jiva or an individual with a certain punya and papa and kartrutvam and bhoktrutvam, etc., all these things. And I consider myself as a who is born again and again, dies also, I am subject to death. Everything I take because of this ignorance. Well, this ignorance, because of I don't know myself, I take it myself as a jiva. So that is how they say Brahman with this upadhi, ignorance upadhi, is equal to jiva. Brahma plus, we can write like this, Brahma plus ignorance well, we'll see that, but you write down Brahma plus ignorance is equal to jiva. That's all. Means this Brahman, when you look from the standpoint of this ignorance or karana shariram, it is called jiva. So Brahman is not jiva, but jiva is definitely Brahman ultimately in essence, because you are looking the same Brahman from one standpoint. Like I have given you example, this from the cosmic body of this Ishvara, well, it is all, the whole body is conscious. Like this body is conscious, same with the whole physical universe. This physical body is conscious throughout in the body. The whole physical universe is a conscious body. That's Ishvara has pervaded everywhere, or Brahman has pervaded in the entire cosmic body. That's how we say everything is Brahman. But when you say Brahman, when you look upon from the standpoint of a sun, then you say Aditya, Devata, and therefore Devata also is a jiva. So Brahman, when we look upon Brahman from one particular standpoint, it definitely becomes an individual jiva, and then all the attributes also are superimposed, etc. And therefore, basically, he becomes a karta, bhokta as such, gets a punyam papam, does a karma, then gets punyam papam, and then takes birth again and all that. It's all is this jiva. Brahman alone, but basically with this upadhi, avidya upadhi or a karana shariram, it is called, he becomes as though jiva. He becomes as though jiva. Like crystal as though becomes a pink or red, depending upon the upadhi, the flower. So this is how we have to understand. Otherwise, there is no beginning of for it, and also it doesn't exist by itself. With this, we have to keep in mind. So anything other than Atma means you have to immediately put this, that it doesn't exist independent of Atma. Anything. So when you say ignorance is, that's enough. That is does not belong to ignorance. Is belongs to Atma. Because Atma is. Atma is. That's all. Self-existent. And therefore, the isness goes from Atma. Goes from. This is a story, cock and bull story. Goes from Atma to the ignorance. And therefore, ignorance shines. And ignorance also gets an existence. We have to do all this kind of a thing. So ignorance is because ignorance shines, or ignorance shines because therefore ignorance is. Whatever you say, well, you say ignorance is, or ignorance is revealed, etc. Ignorance is evident, whatever you want to say. Ultimately, the evidence and existence goes from self-evident, self-existent Atma. Well, that is big, and therefore, why? Because it is non-separate. If it is independent, then it doesn't require existence. Any independent thing is independent in terms of existence. Then it doesn't require existence from the other thing. And therefore, when you say other than Atma, well, it is non-separate from the Atma. Ignorance also is non-separate from the Atma, because basically everything is ultimately dependent upon for existence or revelation or illumination on Atma. Atma is self-revealing, self-illumining, swaprakasha, and swatasiddha, self-existent too. And so with regard to this Swarupa of Atma, there is a Jnanam. With regard to Swarupa of this self, there is a Jnanam. And as I told you, what exactly I am is not known to me. I am is known to me. What I am is not known to me. And for that, the role of ignorance is there. So I am evident. In fact, I am is very evident, self-evident. But I am Sachidananda is not known to me. Like this is known to me. But this is rope is not known to me. That's how it is. This is known to me. Same way I am is known to me. For that I don't require any evidence. Any means of knowledge to prove, to get the evidence for that. No. I am is evident. But I am Sachidananda is not evident. Same way, same like this. This is evident. But this is rope is not evident. And therefore you take something as that this is snake, etc. That's called confusion with regard to rope. Here also confusion with regard to the self. That's how it is. And there also the snake is non-separate from the rope. Please understand. Snake is non-separate from the rope. Otherwise, in absence of the knowledge of a rope, right, anything can be generated. I can say even that this is elephant, but it doesn't happen that way. It doesn't happen that way. So basically, the snake, which is which borrows the existence from the rope, and the snake which borrows the evidence from the rope. Rope is considered. Let's say rope is self-evident, self-existent, and snake is dependent for existence, for revelation on rope. Could you follow that? And therefore, snake is definitely a non-separate from the rope. And so that's how when you put the torch, snake does not go away in the forest. Snake resolves there itself. Snake resolves there and there. It doesn't go anywhere. If it goes there, it was a real snake. It was a problem otherwise. That is how even the self also. I say I am body, I am mind, I am senses, etc. When you know you are consciousness, all they resolve, so-called resolve, understand that. They just resolve into me. I just say, in Jnani's understanding of his own, he only says, I am Brahman. That's all. He doesn't know anything other than that. So that's how everything is resolved into the self. Everything is resolved into consciousness. So everything is negated? Yeah, everything is negated. But Jnani does not take a weapon in hand and destroy everything in order to keep the self as it is. No, I have told you there are two types of negation. One is a physical negation, and other negation is by knowledge. Physical negation is called nishedaha, and negation by knowledge is called badhaha, right? And therefore, outside, let it be as it is, not even outside. Here also, what? Let it be what it is. Pot can be negated in two ways. Either you destroy the pot with a stick, or in your understanding, well, there is no more pot, there is a clay. So in Jnani's understanding is like this. The I has become so big now. That I has become very big. Capital, double capital, whatever it is. He has become so big. So whenever I being self-revealing, it always reveals for a Jnani as I am Brahman. As it is. Effortlessly. That is called Brahmanishta. This is called Brahmanishta, in which right now I have an understanding. I am is self-revealing. But I am a human being, I am a Swami, I am this, that, well, that. So the part of the body has been assimilated in the self. Well, that is confusion. So our understanding is basically, 1 minute, somebody has... Anyway, so this is how it is happening, and therefore in Jnani's understanding, without destroying any name and form, that's how I said, all the names and forms are as though swallowed, as though they are pervaded by consciousness. Whenever he says time, consciousness, he says, I pervade the time. I pervade the time. Time doesn't pervade me. I pervade the time. I reveal the time. I pervade the space. I pervade the objects. Everything is I am pervading. Not that daily, get up in the morning and then, okay, now let me take some part of Silosberg and let me start, assimilating them as a self. Nothing. In a single stroke, everything. Like for you, the understanding of, the entire clay world, that understanding that everything is clay, all the names and forms have resolved in a single second, that everything is me alone. Everything, clay says, everything is me alone. All the names and forms are just is seemingly existent. Well, from the standpoint of clay, let me tell you very clearly that there is no even seemingly existent pot. Please understand this. Seemingly existent pot is for this fellow who has an understanding that this is clay and therefore pot is seemingly existent. If you ask the clay, if you take the interview of a clay, well, clay says, where is the pot? Where pot? No, it is sitting on you. What? I myself am. Nothing is sitting on me. I don't feel any weight. No weight at all. I am clay. I am all pervading. Please understand this. This is how the understanding of a Jnani is. This is a Brahmanishta. I am all pervading. Whatever is there is me alone. As he opens the eyes or as anything appears in his thought, he says, I am that. Anything. That's how all the kamas are resolved into him. There is no desire at all, because all the kamya vishayas, he said, I have already pervaded, they are my form only. Sarvan kaman samashnata. That's how it happens. Anyway, this is so, avidya is one because of which the self-evident Atma, which is Satchidananda, is taken as something confused self, non-self, etc. So I am doer, I am enjoyer, etc. I am limited and I am samsari, etc., etc. And this confusion is, and that's how in one's own understanding, in one's own awareness, there is I is always a limited being. And that is how, and that is where the inquiry starts. And if confusion is not there, well, then or the mistake is total, there is no element of doubt, and then definitely this inquiry won't be there. But definitely you know something and you don't know something. Well, in that case, inquiry begins what really it is. So this is how the one part we have covered is avidya is anadi. The second part is avidya anirvachya. Well, I will suspend it from tomorrow. Will do. I will give you one meditation now, which you can note it down. Yesterday I gave you the last meditation. In continuation, that only this meditation is also there. Like a tree outside, is illumined in sunlight, the tree in my mind is illumined in light. The tree in my mind is illumined in light. What light? In every leaf of the tree. Every leaf of the tree is light. In every leaf of the tree is light. Every leaf of the tree is lighted. Above, below, in and through the tree, there is light. I remove the tree and I just think of light. Remove the tree and think of light. The light. The light because of which I am conscious of the tree. Think of that. The light, the consciousness. Think of it. Think of the consciousness. Think of the consciousness. As you objectify the tree, just objectify the consciousness. Think of consciousness. See the consciousness. When I think of consciousness, I am consciousness. When I don't think of consciousness, when I think of a tree, I am consciousness, lighting up the tree. When I think of consciousness, I am consciousness. When I think of consciousness, I am consciousness. The thinker, the thought, the object tree, all the three resolve into consciousness. When I think of consciousness, I am consciousness. What is the dimension of consciousness? What is the dimension of consciousness? I. No dimension. Formless consciousness, I. What is the sound of consciousness? Answer without a word. What is the sound of consciousness? See the meaning. Consciousness, silence. Formless, silence. Formless, consciousness, silence. Consciousness, silence. I. Consciousness, I. Consciousness. All the sounds are illumined by me. I, consciousness, is silence. I, formless, all pervasive. Consciousness. I, limitless, silence, consciousness. I, consciousness. I, consciousness. I, consciousness. I think the next meditation we'll do, I will give you tomorrow because I think it's a little long. It is with respect to time and consciousness that we'll do tomorrow. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ।